So we're going to today show the installation of the Sequitur Labs IoT security suite on a SAMA5D2 Explained Pro board. So the first thing we'll do is make sure that the battery backup area for key storage is empty. So there's currently no power applied to the board, so I'll remove the battery backup jumper momentarily. I'll reinstall the jumper. I'm also installing the boot disable jumper to make sure that the board doesn't boot, and we'll apply power to the board. On the screen, on the left-hand side window, we have the console, the serial console for the A5D2, which is put in place using a standard FTDI cable that can be bought from any distributor such as DigiKey or Moser. And on the right-hand side, I have a Linux terminal window from a laptop that's running, basically has the IoT security suite setup scripts available. It's basically the download from the website that we've unpacked. One thing we've done in advance is we've already preloaded the SD card that contains the root file system for the suite. So we've already done that just in the interest of saving a bit of time. So now I'll plug the power into the A5D2, and on the left-hand side, we'll see the device does not boot. And we have the ROM boot prompt indicating that SAMDA is up and running. I'm removing the jumper, so the boot disable jumper, so that we can now run the initial boot setup script. And this sets up the battery backup keys so that we can then erase and load the flash with the secure firmware payload for the IoT security suite. So second step, which we'll do, is now to erase the flash and load the secure payload. So I have to reset the board. So I've done that. So it's now in secure boot mode, and this will take a few minutes, so it's a substantial number of minutes. If you want to go make yourself a cup of tea or go walk the dog, that would be a good time. So the erase procedure of the boot flash is just about to complete, and we're now uploading basically the secure firmware, which is just about completed. So now we'll insert the SD card into the board. I'll reset the board, and what's going to happen is with the firmware that we've now installed in Flash, the board is now generating its individual unique keys. So when the flash is installed, this installs a procedure into the flash, which goes and is rekeyed uniquely for every board instance. So no two boards are keyed the same way. This only happens once on first boot after the initial setup. And as soon as this is complete, the board will boot directly into Linux, the Linux environment. So I'll just give it a moment. So it takes a few seconds, and the board will be back up. So trusted execution environment's loaded, all verifications have happened. We'll now be at the Linux console within a couple of seconds. So username and password are root and root as indicated on the screen. I'm just going to log in. Everything's here. Running from the SD card. I'm going to reboot just to show that the board comes back up without going through the provisioning. And then the last step we'll do is put the board back in its pristine state. So we'll pull the battery backup jumper, which will wipe the keys, and the board should not boot. So board's just about finished booting. We'll log back in. So at this point, any of the demonstrations that are within the suite or the example programs, you can build them in a cross-development environment, put them on the board, run them, work with the examples. And when you're done, if you want to basically put the board back its in original state, all you need to do is shut the power down, which we're going to do here. So this will do a clean shutdown of Linux, so keep the SD card contents intact. Power's down, so I'm going to pull the power for the board. I'm pulling the battery backup jumper, replacing the battery backup jumper, putting putting the power back on, and if everything is worked correctly, the board should not boot. And the board does nothing because the keys are gone. There's no means for the microprocessor to decrypt and verify the payload, so we're basically back to an empty board. You can easily reinstall at this point the suite using exactly the same procedure that we performed at the beginning of this presentation.